So we will be painting Bella, who is a really sweet Springer Spaniel puppy. The tutorial is broken into a 4-part series that I'll provide instructions when necessary and then let you concentrate on the painting. This is great for beginners as I'm providing Bella's image and line drawing, so all you need to do is transfer the line drawing onto your paper. And we are doing a painterly style, so you can choose to make it looser strokes or tighten up the detail. This is a very forgiving style, so this is where you can make it your own. And in this first video, we're going to be doing the underpainting, and I'm going to quickly review the materials I used throughout this painting, and then we'll get on with it. Here are the materials used in the video. We've got a magnetic whiteboard, a hollow aluminum tube with a curve on the top just so that it can hook on, and I can rest my hand on it to prevent it from going on the paper. This is a sanded pastel paper. It's Canson Touch. You can also use pastel matte or even canvas is fine. Any paper that will take pastel. I've got a variety of pencils and hard pastels. Whatever you have, use, even if you want to just do black and white. If you have black, white, and a gray, that works perfect for this drawing. So I've got just some black and white, a couple grays, a medium and a dark brown, a pink and blue, which I saw in the eyes, and then some purple if you want to have fun on the fur. These are the pan pastels. I've just put a magnet on the back. In the video, you'll see that I did have a blue and a pink. I had thought that maybe I might do the blue and pink for the undertones, but I decided on the purple and the browns. Then this is just regular photocopy paper with the Sofft tool so I can mix the colors. Any eraser will do. I like this one. It's quite hard and you can put it to a point or a chisel. Then some blending tools, just a stump. And this one is a silicone tip. It's a little bit flexible and it goes to a nice fine point, which is great for details like the eyes and just blending the pastel in general. There'll also be partway through, this will be whether you want to do it or not. I'm going to do an isopropyl alcohol wash just to fix in the pastel so it puts it back into the tooth, which will give us more room to layer on pastels, but that is optional. Line drawing transferred, and I used a dark pastel pencil in the dark areas and a light pastel pencil in the white areas. Sometimes those lines can be a little bit stubborn to get rid of, so I just like to start off with the base of what the dog is. And now we're going to start with an underpainting so we can get a really good foundation to build up on. So if you look under Bella's picture, there's a value scale that I'll be referencing throughout the videos, which I've also included. I just find this really helpful as a guide for getting your values correct, which is the most important part. It's not necessarily about the colors you use or if you're doing black and white. It's the values that need to be correct as they're defining the shape of the object, where the shadows and highlights are. So if you look over at Bella's photo and squint, where you see the values of 9 or 10, they kind of create a shape. And so I'm just looking at the shape. We're not really worrying about blending at the moment. Just we want to get a basis of where her darks are. And so I'm going to do the underpainting values at 7 to 9. I want to keep the dark areas a couple values lighter so we can work those up. And so I was debating right now between the purple and the blue for an undertone in the dark areas. I did decide on the purple, but blue will work just as well. It won't all be purple at the end, but it will show through in some of the midtones, which I just thought was going to be a little bit more fun. And so right now I'm just keeping the pastel amount light because we don't want to fill up the tooth too much so we can build up. And I'm also following the direction of the fur. This really starts to add dimension right away, so we don't want it to look flat. And it really does add life to it fairly quickly. And then I'm going to work around the eyes and do one side to start to get a good idea of the dark value. Then I'm going to start adding in some of the middle values and doing just slight blending. And those I'm keeping to the actual values between usually around 3 to 6. And at times you may accidentally lighten up some of your dark areas, so you can just go and back and just reinforce those. Once one area gets a little bit lighter, then your other area might look a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, or you might go into it, and that's perfectly fine and normal. Just keep going back and forth and reinforcing what you need to. In the light areas, I've chosen a light tint of burnt sienna just to add a bit of warmth against that cool purple. And we'll be doing that around value 1 to 2, as there are shadows in those white areas. So these will tend to lean towards the shadow. And then we can start building up the whitest of the whites, which will really make things pop. And I'm just kind of working around the snout area. I'm going to do this in 2 stages. I just didn't want to muddy up the whites too much because the snout is dark as well. So I just thought it'd be easier if I could just leave this for now. And then as we're going to work down, you can start altering a little bit of white with some of the brown where you know it might be a little bit more whiter. And then I'm just going to continue that in the chest area, just altering between the shadow areas are going to be a little bit darker, and then work my way up to a little bit of the white in the, say, on the left side of the body. And just have a lot of fun with this. It just adds more interest. We're going to do a painterly feel. The look is more to get detail in the eyes and the nose and the face. And then as we move out, the ears and the chest, it's just a lot more fun. So you can have bigger strokes, alter the values of them, and then just have a little bit of fun with the angle of it. And then you can make some little squiggly marks and just have a little bit more fun. And now onto the nose area. We're going to still continue using the purple undertone And then we're going to also define the edges of the nostril and then parts of the nose. I just want to make sure we do get that exact, and there are hard edges there. So we do want to make sure we reinforce those now so they're not lost later. This is a good time to just look everything over, see if you need to reinstate any of your darks or add any more highlights. I decided that I needed some more highlights, so I'm going to quickly throw those in before we get to the next stage. The next stage is the alcohol wash. This is optional and only if you're using something like a sanded paper that can take the wash. This allows the pastel to blend, be more of a painterly feel, as well as push the pastel into the paper so we have more tooth to build on. If you're using something like a watercolor paper, you could always use a couple sprays of a workable fixative, and that should allow you some more tooth. Now you don't need a whole lot of the alcohol. It's just going to go into an old jar. I've got an old paintbrush, and then I've got my paper towel. I'm just going to dip it in and then take a little bit off on the paper towel so it's not sopping wet. And then just work in the direction of the fur again. Watch out, that pastel does come off on the paintbrush, so be careful when you're going from your darks into your whites. Just be mindful that you don't want to muddy those up too much, and you can do some slight blending right now if you'd like. It's going to look a little bit darker when it's wet, and not to worry, it's going to dry lighter. And then once I start getting to the ears and the chest area, the ears are so much fun. So I'm just going to start pulling out a little bit of wisp of the fur. Doesn't have to be exact. We're going to build those up later with pencil so we can make them quite fine and darker. But this is where you can start to have a little bit of fun in the ears and the chest area. Now that the alcohol wash is set and dry, we can add color to the snout area. Just going to alter back and forth between the light values and dark values as I look over at Bella's photo. Doesn't have to be exact right now. We're still just doing the underpainting, and we're going to build up those values. I might go in with a bit of a charcoal pencil just to beefing up some of the values. And where there are light areas within that snout area, I'm going to try to leave those alone right now. It can get hard to build up white when you've gone too dark underneath. And then we're going to finish those areas off with an alcohol wash as well. So I completely forgot about her eyes. So I went and grabbed a medium brown. I'm going to fill in her pupils, and then I'm going to put in the whites of her eyes and then finish off with the alcohol wash. So thanks for sticking with me. We've got a wonderful base to build up on. So in part 2, we're going to start to deepen those dark values, and then we're going to start adding some of those details.